guys, welcome back to In Case of Econ Struggles. Welcome to another micro struggle. Today I want to give you a quick tip on the Monotone Likelihood Ratio Condition, or the MLRC, which is very commonly seen in moral hazard problems. And so let's go ahead and get right into it. Timestamps are below if you would like to jump around. So the MLRC doesn't seem very intuitive, so I want to provide an intuitive example. And so here's Bill. Bill's a grad student, and Bill can take two possible actions. He can either do some research or he can watch TikTok. And so let's say that Bill's output is based on the number of papers that Bill writes. And so Bill has an advisor, her name is Erin. And so what Erin is going to do is she's going to observe how many papers Bill writes. She's not going to be able to observe what Bill did. She's not going to be able to observe if Bill chose to write research papers or if Bill chose to watch TikToks. And what the MLRC is saying is that if we see a higher and higher output of papers from Bill, it should be more and more likely that Bill chose to do research rather than watch TikTok. And so what we're going to say is that, okay, Bill's going to choose an action. Each action has a different distribution in the number of papers. So we're basically going to take a random draw of a distribution. And that's going to tell us how many papers Bill actually wrote. So he can write a number of papers if he does research. He can also write that same number of papers if he watches TikTok. And so what we're going to say is that basically it's a random draw from that distribution. But of course, as you might imagine, if Bill chooses to do research, it's more likely he's going to get a higher number of papers than if he wrote that same number of papers from watching TikTok. So as a quick numerical example, suppose we observe that Bill writes 20 papers. Okay, well, he could have written those 20 papers by watching TikTok and then just cramming, or he could have written those 20 papers because he was doing some research. Now, it's probably more likely that Bill was doing research if he wrote 20 papers than, say, if we observed that Bill wrote 2 papers. So all we're saying is that as the number of papers increases, it should be more and more likely that Bill actually did research rather than watching TikTok. And so what we can say is we can construct this likelihood ratio where we say, okay, there's a likelihood, there's a probability, there's a PDF of a number of papers given that Bill has done research. There's a different conditional probability or conditional probability density function that Bill wrote those same number of papers given that he was doing research. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the low action on top, the high action on the bottom, and we're going to say that basically if the MLRC holds, then as the number of papers goes up, this whole ratio needs to be decreasing. Then it needs to be more likely that Bill was doing research rather than watching TikTok for him to get to that higher number of papers. So what the MLRC says is that this ratio needs to be monotonically decreasing as the number of papers goes up. So again, just a quick tip on how to interpret this MLRC intuitively. Hopefully it gives you a different example. If this was helpful, please leave a comment below. If you've got questions, please put those below as well. But if this video or these videos are helping you out, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time for another case of Econ Struggles.